Good evening all. Anybody on? Hey Geek Piper, hi, thanks for joining, how are you? Finally, somebody has come on board. Whereabouts in the world are you, Geek? I see we've gone down to 2 people. Oh well. Well, I'm currently in Yorkshire on my vacation. Currently sitting in the car, as you can see. And I'm about to light up an Arturo Fuente. This is a short story Hemingway. I was going to bring a pipe up out as well, but I think I've left it inside. I suppose I can go and get it at some point. You prefer that view, do you, Geek? That's a scary view, yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not even going out in the back garden to have a smoke, which I could do. But any warmth out there, any light out there, and you just get completely infested with bugs of every nature. So Arturo Fuente, short story. I've had this for a long time now. This has been in my tupperware probably for going on 2.5 to 3 years, so it should smoke very, very well. I haven't had one of these for a long, long time, and it smells pretty spicy. Have you had one of these before, Geek? Arturo Fuente, for me, they're an excellent middle-of-the-road cigar. They're always reliable. That's probably a good way of putting it. They're a good smoke, nice, as far as I remember, a nice kind of a nutty kind of flavour. And I've left my straight cutter indoors as well, so I'm going to use the Calibri V cutter, one of the best V cutters on the market. Just got to be careful that I don't go too deep on this because it is a very deep V. Alvin, how you doing? There we go, that's a nice V. I've done it quite shallow, otherwise I'll end up with the cap coming off. Hey Mike, thanks for joining. I'm doing very well, and I'm about to light up this Arturo Fuente Hemingway short story. Good evening, the OCD Piper. Is the sound okay, everybody? Just finished a bowl of Briarworks back down south. Alright. What kind of tobacco is that? I was watching your video, Mike, earlier of the pipe kits. You've done a great job. I went over and watched his video, and I've subscribed him. Mon Claude, is that his name, Mon Claude? I speak to him often enough on your lives, so I think he's done a great job. It would be nice to see him possibly. I think he's got the bug. I haven't seen the number 2 one. He said he's done that. He sent me a message to say that he's done either number 2 or even possibly a 3rd one now. No, or he's about to start the 3rd one, but the 2, I sent him a message basically saying that, you know, you'll really enjoy smoking the fruits of your own labour. And he said absolutely, it's already replaced 2 of his dedicated pipes. So it sounds like he's got the bug. Good for him, pleased for him. Perhaps he'll do a video of him actually making the pipes. So this one is an almost closed foot Perfecto, and it's got a slightly bit open at the end. So you just toast the bottom there, and the draw is a little bit tight until you get a little bit, you know, towards the wider part of the foot, and it opens up nicely. So I always find that it's a nice little short journey to take to there and to see how it changes. Some people cut the foot off, which I think is a shame. You know, it just takes away a little bit of the ritual and the kind of uniqueness of this particular cigar. So all it needs is a very quick toast on the foot, put a little bit at the end, and you're done. Quick blast. Mike got your first Italian pipe. Nice. What pipe was that, Alvin? As I was saying before, when I got on, I find the Fuentes to be an excellent middle-of-the-road cigar. I don't smoke so many New World cigars these days, but high pipe puffer. But I do enjoy the Fuentes when I have them. I did have some of these with a much darker wrapper, which apparently are quite a limited edition or in limited supply. In the days when I was spending a fair bit of money with Boswell's, nowadays they don't think twice about me because I don't buy pipes there anymore, very rarely. But they won't do any 9mm, they won't even do it as an order, as a commission. And anyway, so I was quite pally with Archie. I remember when they brought Archie in to take over the cigar department, because I think Dan was too inundated with the pipes. He's slowly taking over more and more, I think, of Jim's workload. Hi, I'm in. And this is going back about 2-3 years ago. Anyway, he sent me those. He told me they're quite limited. Try them. So he sent me those, really almost a black wrapper. There's so many different Fuentes sort of blends out there. I can't remember them all. I just remember Short Story Hemingway. That's all I remember about this particular one. But they were always good for a quick smoke. And the truth is, depending on how you smoke it, it's not that quick. Starts off quite woodsy. Good evening, Amin Parker. Thanks for joining. A Fuente from your wife every Father's Day. Very nice. I think any wife that buys, or any partner that buys their significant other anything to do with smoking is a very tolerant person, assuming they don't smoke. And I must be honest, I find that my wife is a bit hot and cold. When I first got married, going back a couple of years, 27 in fact, or roughly thereabouts. At the time, I I had either just stopped smoking or was still just about smoking. Have I told you guys the story of, I think I have, of when I stopped smoking cigarettes? Thanks, Amin. I really appreciate that. Yeah, converting pipes to 9mm is a very satisfying thing. I'm the one thing which I'm missing at the moment. Well, there's lots of things I'm missing at, in terms of tools and equipment and things like that. But I'm happy with the way I'm going so far. From the beginning, I've always said I'm doing this slowly, piecemeal. I don't want to overreach financially. Until I know that I can actually carve a pipe. But there's a couple of things that I would really like. One of them is a French wheel, like these metal. I think they're a 4-inch French wheel, which they are on what's his name's website. Vermont Freehand. Vermont Freehand. He's got a couple of French wheels, but he's got one which looks fantastic. It looks machined from metal, and that would be a dream for me to have one of those. But that was one thing. The second thing is, which would have to be made, and that is on the lathe. You've got, say, if you've got a chuck made specifically for making pipes, it's usually got 2 prongs going up to grip the block of briar. But if you want to work on pipes after they've been made, it's a much bigger challenge. If you want to work on the stem, for instance, or on the shank, you can't really do it on the lathe, because you're going to ruin, if you're going to grip it, unless you start making molds and things like that, you're going to ruin the briar. So what I want to do, and I have seen it online, people having them made, what I have seen is that people have the same idea, 2 prongs going out, but there's like a bridge in the middle with a diamond shape to grip a shank or to grip a stem, and then you've got a gap. So therefore, if you've got a bent pipe or something like that, it could fill that gap. I'm not sure I'm explaining it very well, but that's something I really would like. I've sent an email off to a company that fabricates things like that, but I haven't had an answer. €36 per pipe. You know what? If it's done professionally and they do a decent job, which is not guaranteed, by the way, in Peterson's, and I mean them no disrespect, but if they do a decent job, €36, it's not cheap, but it's not expensive considering you're sending it over to a carving house like Peterson's, a factory sort of pipe company like Peterson's. For them to even bother messing around with it, they've got to charge something. I had mine done. Hi, Marc-Claude. We mentioned you a minute ago. I had a few done by Moretti Pipes, and he did a pretty good job. One of the pipes, though, has broken since. I have to send it back to him. The converted Boswell. I think the tenon, the 9mm tenon, was really far too thin, and just one time when I was unscrewing the stem from the shank, it just snapped, and I don't believe I was doing anything untoward. Well, doing some cob foolery is something which I do want to think about. I've been watching Cole. I've been watching Monclode. I watched your video, very inspiring, watching you making that the slideshow of the pipe that you made from Mike. I've subscribed you, and please God, next time I get the opportunity, I'll give you a shout out for your channel. It would be really, really cool if we could see you actually working on your next pipe. That would be really fantastic. I think it's very inspirational for people. A lot of people, when I upload videos of the pipes, when I make them, find it very inspiring, especially warts and all. You know, when I did the video of that stem, that coloured, that swirly red stem, which I put a lot of effort into, and it broke right at the end. You know, and I left it in. I didn't edit it out. And a lot of people complimented me on that, and I think it's really great, especially when you're starting off and you haven't got any experience. People like me, when I first, you know, I've been wanting to get into making pipes for a long time. It's not just it's not a new dream for me. As soon as I picked up the pipe, I was just smitten with the whole hobby, and it wasn't long before I got myself a hobby kit. And the first one I did was probably 2 or 3 years ago already, you know, from a hobby kit like you got from Mike. And I did another hobby pipe maybe a year later, and it was 100 times better than the first one. And then I carried on doing a few hobby pipes. I even managed to sell 1 or 2 of the hobby pipes that I'd made, which was quite unbelievable, really. What was I saying? Yeah, so putting up the videos, even if they're not perfect, is inspirational. So the point I was trying to make was that, for me, jumping from getting a hobby kit, which I found there was this big challenge of the junction of the shank to the stem and the bowl to the shank. It was a hurdle which I just couldn't overcome, because those things are really done best on the lathe. Mr. Tweed, hi, how you doing? Thanks for joining. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that you've got your pipe. I didn't order one this time around. In fact, I don't think I've ever ordered one from him, for the UKTPC club pipes. I don't know why. I should really. I don't know if I can still get in on it. Maybe I'll ask Mike if I can still have one. Maybe I'll get one made. I really don't know why I didn't even think of it, because I'm very active on the UKTPC group. I post on there all the time. So, you know, it would make sense just to sort of cement my membership of that group to join in the annual pipe acquisition. Okay, so let me talk to you about that, Monk Lord, because I've only recently just been on that journey, and of course it's horses for courses. Everybody's going to do what suits them. The first thing I did was go out and buy a drill press, and it's a mistake. A few people at the time commented and told me, don't waste your money on a drill press, because once you get a lathe you'll never use it. And it's absolutely true. Even when I didn't have a lathe, I didn't use it. Because the thing is like this: when I first started, I don't regret having the drill press, because I have used it for quite a few key things which has been worthwhile having, but and I didn't spend a lot of money on it. But that's kind of part of the problem. It's a double-edged sword, because if you get a cheapy, you know, entry level kind of machine, they're not going to have much in terms of facility. They've got quite a limited throw. You know, the depth of the drill is quite limited, unless you're going to get one on a stand which is fully adjustable and all of that kind of thing. Also, if you want to drill the chamber, there's plenty of people on YouTube that you could watch who make a chamber and make a pipe using a drill press. Some of them use hole saws to get the circular shape of the bowl, the outside shape, and then sand off the rest of it. Some people just use it for drilling, and some of the high-end carvers use a drill press to drill the chamber. The thing is that you've got to have a good quality drill press for that if you are going to go down that route, because you don't want any vibration whatsoever in the drill bit. And with anything other than an expensive professional level drill press, you're going to have wiggle, you're going to have movement in that. And you don't want to have chatter on your bowl, on your drill, on the bowl. You know, you want to have a nice, smooth, circular chamber. In terms of my journey, the lathe for me was the biggest hurdle in terms of I was intimidated by it because I had never seen one in use, besides for on YouTube. And every single time I got on YouTube to watch somebody carve a pipe, the chuck was already on the lathe. I should really do a beginner's video myself. The chuck was already on the lathe and the block of briar was already in the chuck. And most of them have professional pipe making chucks, which you can't just buy off the shelf. Well, the only place you can do that I know of is Vermont Freehand. There's one in Germany that you can buy, but it's like £300-400, and who's going to start off with that kind of expenditure? It's something I might do in the future, but currently the one I used was from Vermont Freehand, and actually quite reasonable at $70 odd, I think it was $79. So quite reasonable. But I was always, I couldn't make the jump from, in my mind, of how you get to, from standing in front of the lathe with bits everywhere, with it unconstructed, to actually having the block on the chuck, turning and ready to be turned. And I didn't know how to line it up and all that kind of thing. Initially I didn't have a pipe making chuck, and I was just using regular chucks, and I couldn't position it so that it was square and it was right. It was a whole load of challenges. But once I got over that, once I learnt the first time I made a pipe, and I had a huge amount of help from a guy over in America. I can't remember his name now. I owe him that much, I should remember his name. Can't remember his handle. But he literally, I did a live show at the time, some of you might remember it. I did a live show and I carved my first pipe and drilled it using the lathe. And this guy held my hand pretty much throughout. And there was also Drop Bear Woodworks. He also held my hand for quite a bit of the way. Is it Jason, his name? The Australian guy. So two guys basically held my hand through that process, and it was fantastic. Cheers, Amen. Anyway, if you do decide to follow that dream, Monk Lord, I would encourage you to wait for the lathe. They're not usually expensive to get a semi-decent one. The one I got, I think it cost me about £300. Maybe it was 400, something like that. And I plumbed a little bit more to get a variable speed one, you know, with a controllable, not the one that you have to change the bands to change the speed, but the one with a knob that you could speed up the motor. Makes a huge difference. So if you're going to get a semi-decent drill press for say $100 or $150, you know, for another $150 you can get yourself a lathe. Yes, Monk Claude, you're absolutely right. The reason why is because it's a big thing. You know, you're going to bring in my lathe. It weighs a ton. The lathe was delivered by courier, and it comes on a pallet in a huge box. You can't lift it. I mean, I struggled to get it out to my garage. I think I had to get one of my kids to help me with it. And I must admit, like I said, I was intimidated by the lathe until I got the hang of it. And then I was, you know, I could say that I was addicted. I was, any spare second I could, I was out there in the garage. And if I could, now I would do the same thing. You know, if I could not have to do some of the other work that I do, I would be out there making a pipe every day. Even if I wasn't able to sell any of my pipes, I would still do it, because I'm at a stage where, whilst I may not be an expert, I'm at least able to make pipes which I'd be very happy to smoke myself. And the pipes that I make smoke as well as any other pipe that I've got, and I'm not just saying that, it's true. You know, do my best to make them as accurately drilled as possible, and they're improving all the time. I mean, the one that I sent you, the drilling and all of that was fine, but the finishing wasn't as good as my pipes are now. So you know, there's improvement all the time. Yeah, good one, Mr. Tweed. Uh, Josh, how you doing? Um, how long have I had my lathe? I think I bought my lathe in December 18, November, December 2018, something like that. So we've had it maybe 9 months. The beginning was quite frustrating because I didn't have the chuck initially. So all I was doing was turning spindles initially just to get the hang of carving. I also took advantage of a free course that Axminster, the place where I bought it from, which is a bit of a schlep to get up there. It's like an hour's drive, but an hour and a half. But it was worth it. It's just to get my hands on a lathe and to practice it. It was worth doing. So I took a lesson. They give you a 3-hour lesson or something like that, which was very cool. And the guy there gave me the basics. There's the chuck, and then you've got the chuck jaws. I should have been more specific. The pipe making jaws, not the chuck. The chuck itself, the chuck I've got is a Robert. Oh, can't remember the name now. Can't remember the name. It's an English made. I think it's made in Sheffield, the metal. But it's a good quality chuck, although I've had problems with it. I think that the briar gets into the jaws, into the jaws, and it clogs it up. I'm onto my third one, believe it or not. But they replace them free every time. But I've got to find a solution to it. Somebody suggested that I have to literally break down the chuck every single time after making a pipe and clean it out, and degrease it and re-grease it, which it doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't sound right at all. But it could be that briar dust is much finer because it's so dense. So I don't know. So the chuck itself, I paid quite a bit of money for. I think I paid about £160, £180, something like that. It's a high quality chuck, despite the problems that I'm having. And the jaws, which I got from Vermont Freehand, were about $79, $80. And I had to get that make of chuck here in the UK because I had to make sure that the jaws for making a pipe fit, so the screw centers had to be the same. So, and it does, it fits perfectly. Nice white ash. You got the perfecto shape still there. I'm sure it's going to ash all over me in a minute. Yeah, Mike, absolutely. People are always trying to improve. You know, you just keep an eye out on Instagram on people's output. It's just amazing. I was talking before. I started talking about corn cobs and cob foolery, sort of adapting cobs, and I don't know if you guys watch John Keller, JWK. I've sort of kept an eye on him since he started doing his cobs. Was quite communicated with him quite a bit before he even started this stuff. He used to do lives with his friends, with his mates. Huggy Bear, I think, was one of his mates. He used to always do lives from his local bar. And he's really big time gotten into cob modding modding cobs, and he does a fantastic job. And what I'm jealous about is his stems. He makes fantastic stems, and he's got his shaping down pat, really the bit, the bite zone, all of that stuff, which I need to spend some time on. Originally I was going to bring, I bought a couple of Ebonite rods, raw rods, and I was not going to bring any briar out or anything like that. I was going to bring the rods and some files just to practice hand filing stems and shaping them and shaping the bits, but in the mad rush to get out, I completely forgot about it. But he's a perfect example of somebody going through the journey, and I find it very inspiring. And I'm not sure if he's I think he may have had to quit his job. He was a nurse, a male nurse. He may have had to quit it for health reasons. He's had some health issues, but to be able to fall back on that, it's fantastic. And that was one of the reasons why I started doing the pipes, not because it's going to give me a living at the moment, but because I want to develop it slowly into something which, at some point, if I decide to retire, there's always something that I can do, a little cottage industry that I can do, just to bring in a bit of pocket money. And if it goes beyond that, fantastic. You know, I haven't given any, set myself any huge expectations from it. Whatever happens, happens. So I'm not burning any bridges. I'm not giving up my work or anything like that. Certainly not at this stage. But if it gets to a point where my time is more valuable spent making pipes than it is doing other things, then I'll make the change. But cobs is really, I've never enjoyed smoking a cob, I must be honest. Hey Jordan, how you doing? The thing is as well with cobs is that there's still a fair amount of work to do on them, and there's a limit in terms of, if you're doing it for a living, there's a limit to how much you can charge for a cob. So that's something you've got to bear in mind. So if it's something you can sort of mod and sort of develop a way of mass producing them, even if it's not mass produced, but in a way which you could knock them out quickly, then that would be worth doing. I'm currently smoking Mr. Tweed. I'm currently smoking an Arturo Fuente Hemingway short story, and it's very pleasant indeed. In terms of the 1820 and the Penzance, what I'm telling people is that I'm just going to ash my cigar. What I've been saying about that is that for me, the flavor profile is Penzance. The 1820 is, in terms of a flavor profile, it is Penzance. But in terms of the fullness, the richness, and I don't know if it's to do with age, maybe. I have no idea. It's a new blend. But for me, it's lacking fullness, richness. Not lacking, it's just different. It's not as full, not as rich, and it seems to lack a bit of maturity compared to Penzance. That's just me. There were some people on the UK groups saying that it's rubbish, it's garbage, they didn't like it at all. Some people saying it's fantastic. For me, when the first time I had it, the first impressions video that I did, I thought it was very close to Penzance. I still do. I just think it's the sort of the lighter version. It's Penzance light. That's how I would describe it. No, Jordan, it's not Saturday yet, but I decided to spend an evening with you guys. I'm on vacation, so no scheduling, which is holding me up. Incidentally, I'm out here till next Friday, and I had somebody call me, wanted to book me for Thursday night for an engagement party, and I was a bit torn. You know, it's a matter of going one evening earlier because I've got to be out by 10 a.m. on Friday. So essentially, I could really go Thursday afternoon to do the job on Thursday evening. But it would really mean that Thursday's knocked out because it takes time to pack up and clean up and get everything ship shape to leave the place how you found it, so to speak. I'm very, very fussy about that. You know, if I go to stay in somebody else's property, I've got to leave it spick and span. So it takes a few hours. And so it would really mean that Thursday's out, so we lose a day. And I didn't really want to do that. We already lost a couple of days because we were in Manchester for the weekend. For my brother made a celebration, a family celebration. And here in the UK, you've got to book it from, it's usually either a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday. And we had booked it from the Friday. So we lost the Friday, the Saturday. We travelled on the Sunday, so by the time we got here and settled in, we'd lost the Sunday. So it would really cut everything short if we go on the Thursday as well. So I think I'm going to tell them no. Hey, Boris. So I'm afraid it's not Saturday yet, Jordan. But look, on the upside, you've got the whole weekend to come. Whereas if it would have been Saturday, you'd only had Sunday left. This weekend in the UK, it's a bank holiday weekend, which means had I been working, I would have had Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off. Monday is an extra bank holiday day, so I'm losing that out really, because I'm out on holiday anyway. It's funny how when you're at work, the week just sort of drags out till you get to the weekend. The weekend comes and it's gone in a flash, and it's Monday and you're back at your day-to-day job. But when you're on holiday, I find that it just goes in a flash, and 2 minutes later you're back at your desk and it's all forgotten. It's almost a week gone. Yeah, we're having a good time. The weather's been okay. I mean, it's been overcast and it hasn't been hot or anything like that, but at least it hasn't really rained. The weather's supposed to be picking up tomorrow, so we're hoping for that. So if the weather is good, we're hoping to hit the beach. We're not right on the beach here. It's a bit of a drive, but nothing too crazy. It's about a half an hour, 40-minute drive. Because we are in the middle of the countryside here. But it's in driving distance. Mike, are you still with us? Don't wear a Speedo. Why not? I mean, I wouldn't wear a Speedo anyway, but that's besides the point. Do you mean because it's cold? And I think it was a Billy Connolly joke. I'm not sure if it was Billy Connolly or somebody else. He was talking about something along those lines, that he was wearing something so tight you could tell what religion he was. Just over the halfway mark on this Hemingway short story. Fanny packs are coming back, are they? I haven't noticed it here in the UK. Although we're always a year or two behind you guys. I mean, just look at the presidents and our prime minister. We're a couple of years behind. We've got our own kind of Trump. You've had Trump for a couple of years. Now we get ours. Yep, I said it, the dreaded T word. I should do a live when I wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. Out in the garden. It's full of wildlife. But mostly rabbits. This morning there was, I think, 3 rabbits in the garden. Running around, jumping around. I managed to get a clip of them. It's not something I would see in London, that's for sure. And just across the way here, literally across the road, there's a stables. There's a race course. I might have mentioned it in one of my videos. There's a race course just up the road, which we're planning to go to on Sunday. There's a race meet. I don't think I've ever been to a horse race before. So I'm quite excited about that. But so we've been going over with the kids to say hello to the horses for a couple of days. But yesterday they were exercising the horses, and I was just watching them galloping up and down. They've got quite a long meadow, and I have ridden horses before, but not in any great kind of way, just a few times. I'm a town boy, you know. But just watching them from that sort of kind of proximity, the majesty of those animals, it blew me away. It really did. It sounds a bit simple and naive, but as I say, for a town boy, I don't often get into close proximity with that kind of animal. And you just watch. First of all, they walk. They walk with pride. That's number one. You just have to watch them, how they walk, how graceful they are, the poise, the stance, and then, you know, the rippling muscles. And it's such an impressive beast. When it came up to the fence, there's 3 of them there. It looks like parents. I'm assuming the parents and a baby foal. And one of them came up to the fence, and I was stroking its nose. And as I was stroking its nose, it sort of turned its head away, and you could feel the power just in its head. Just whatever you do would be sort of immaterial, because you would not be able to hold that horse to any kind of position other than the one that it wants to be in. Such power. I didn't get to see its teeth. And who are you casting aspersions on? I've not heard about that, about detecting conditions. I mean, certainly um, animals certainly seem to have some cognitive abilities beyond our wavelengths. It's quite well known. You've got some dogs who can predict, um, people who are going to have an epileptic fit, and they're trained to see the signs which are unperceptible to us, but signs which they can perceive. There's so much that we don't know about. It's just sometimes when you start to think into these things, it's quite mind-boggling. That's cool, Alvin. But you start to think into things, to do with nature. I'm not going to say creation because then I'll get people shouting at me. But if you just look into think about some of the things to do with nature, and even just sitting here and just looking about me, it's just something unbelievable. If you take, for instance, the humble apple that grows on a tree. The tree in itself is obviously something which is, incomprehensible. It starts from a seed which has to rot before it can actually grow. So you plant a seed in the ground, the seed is germinated, it rots, and then it starts to grow, the shoots start to grow. Let's set aside the whole creation of the tree, or the materialization of the tree. But take the apple, which has already gone through many, many unbelievable stages to get to that point. But take the apple. You got an apple which it emerges with its own reproductive, like everything else, I guess, but it's with the pips inside, the seeds inside. You have the fleshy, sweet, juicy part of the fruit, and it's protected by a peel which is it's waterproof. It's something which we can eat, but it's waterproof. The things the lengths that we go to make things waterproof, to get things sealed and airtight, and every single apple has it built in, and it's edible. Yet we don't seem to be able to reproduce that. And these things, I don't know, sometimes I just go off on a tangent and think about these things, and I just think it's quite phenomenal. Whether you believe in God or not, that's not the point I was coming to. Just the actual fact of it is just unbelievable. Take a banana, when it's ripe to eat, it's nice and yellow. It was green, it becomes yellow, and then once it goes black, it's not really in its best shape. You've got the fruit telling you when the best time to eat that fruit is. Jockeys are 756 years old on average. They are kept in cryogenic sleep to keep them from growing. What are we talking about, Josh? Oh. You don't see them in public because they're just below your eye level. by being sizist. Well, I can't remember that many sort of famous jockeys. There were some, although I can't remember their names anymore, but I remember when I was growing up in my teens that there were a few very well-known jockeys. And there was one guy who was actually quite funny here in the UK, but I just don't remember his name. I think he's been on some of the celebrity shows, like Come Dancing and that kind of stuff. But I don't remember his name. Ah, Chad. Good evening, how are you? Willie Carson was one of them, yeah. Frodo. Scottish Gaucho, good evening, how are you? Speaking of ism, I was driving, when was it, yesterday? We were in Hull, which was about a 40-minute drive, and I was walking past a building, and on the first floor there was a hairdresser's, and the name of it was ISIS. It was ISIS. I couldn't believe it. Obviously the abbreviation was for something else, but I just was surprised that they would leave it at that, using that abbreviation. We had a very interesting time in Hull actually. When we hit the town centre, we were going to be doing a treasure hunt kind of thing, which is organised by the local authority. It's nothing really sort of earth-shattering, but it's just something to attract attention to the town centre. And there was these basically it's a fish themed thing because it's a port, a fishing port, and there's a quayside there. And so there was this sort of treasure hunt kind of thing, which you have to follow lots of fish themed clues, and it takes you around the whole sort of town. There's a historic area of the town, an older area. Anyway, we were on the first clue, and we see this little sort of train trundling along on the in the central sort of square. One of these small trains for kids and families, that kind of thing. So we went on for a ride, and the guy there was straight out of the 60s UK comedy. The guy was such a natural actor. I recorded a bit of it, and I will put together a video. Either I'll do one of each place, or I'll do a whole video of my whole vacation once I'm done. The problem here is that uploading is ridiculously slow. The broadband here is a bit useless. Well, not useless, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this, but it's not ideal, let's put it that way. Download is okay, but uploading is challenging. And so this guy was very entertaining. And it was supposed to be a 40-minute little tour of the town. It ended up being like an hour because the guy was just talking and joking and laughing all the time. Funny guy, very funny guy. I reckon he's probably knocking on for his mid-70s, something like that. Obviously, it was a kind of a semi-retirement, doing something that he loves. Kids enjoyed it. Coming to the end of this cigar. How long have we been going for? Nearly an hour. So that little cigar has lasted me almost an hour, which is pretty good considering its size. Not John Cleese type. Hi, Meeks. Cheers, Monclo. Thanks very much. John Cleese actually came in for a bit of negative attention here in the UK not so long ago. He dared to speak out against certain politically correct situations. He dared to speak it the way it is. Yeah, the horror. This is Arturo Fuente, Hemingway short story. You know, it's a bit mind-boggling sometimes when you, hey Jeffrey, when you just watch people struggle to put together a sentence for the abject fear that they have that they might say something which could offend somebody. And it just gets to such preposterous levels that you just think to yourself, what has this world come to? Especially, you know, people on public forums like TV or on radio, these kind of things. And you almost hear them apologizing, you know, within a second of them saying something. Obviously, I mean this or that or the other, but, you know, you say this, but I don't mean that, but, you know, oh, I don't know. It gets a bit crazy. I'm trying to remember what it was about the last time I heard something like that. Oh, I remember. Oh, great stuff, Jeff. Thanks very much. Appreciate that. Another satisfied customer. A few of the pipes in my last video have gone. Uh-oh, I think I'm running out of petrol. I'll have to turn the engine off. I'll turn one of the lights off. I don't want to go down, the battery to go down. Okay, I've turned that light off as well. I'm a bit nervous about the battery going, so. Alright, so where was I? Yeah, I was watching a clip on Facebook. Was it Facebook? No, Instagram. I was watching a clip on Instagram, and there was this woman who, she has a regular following. She's pretty well known amongst her following. She's a religious woman, and she was I don't remember what it was, whether it was an interview or just a chat amongst people. And she was wearing a beige top. She was wearing a dress with a beige top underneath it. And she said whatever it was that she said, and then afterwards she said, just by the way, I'm wearing a beige skin colored top, because she didn't want people to think that she wasn't wearing anything under her dress. And because the beige colored top was very close to her skin color, and she didn't want people to think that she was being immodest. So she felt the need to tell everybody that she was wearing a skin colored top. And that really struck me at the time, as you know, people always feeling that they have to justify themselves in case somebody gets offended. The neighbour's just turned up. A bit late. What's she been up to? 20 to 12. What's that you're saying, Jeffrey? Isn't that what you were talking about? Not you, Simon? Sorry, I'm not following you. Time for a swig of coffee. Josh, what are you smoking in that LCS pipe? Orlick Dark Strong Kentucky. I did try that recently. John sent me some of that recently. John Walker. The mysterious John Walker. He's sent a few bits and bobs to a couple of people in the UK. He might have even sent some in Europe as well, I don't remember. And he won't leave an address. And he won't give you an address. He won't let you return fire. That's true generosity, really. He says one day, if there's something that he'll want and I have it, then he'll get back in touch with me. Well, I put a post on Facebook earlier this morning. My family have been very sort of tolerant when we're on holiday. During the year, it doesn't really apply so much because I'm not out with them really that much. Maybe on a Sunday. But I'm not out and about with them pretty much every day, as much as I am on vacation. And I relish the opportunity to smoke a pipe when I'm out and about. So I always do. And they're very tolerant. Thanks, Jeffrey. High five back. But the other day, I think it was either this morning or yesterday, I was in the car smoking a cigar. Windows open, of course. And my daughter was holding her nose, 14, 15-year-old daughter, and she was holding her nose and cringing. I said, you're not coping. She wasn't coping at all. So I put the cigar away in a cigar saver. And I said to her, I'll look into getting stuff which smells nicer. And she said, you've had nicer stuff before. So I posted on Facebook this morning, asking people in the UK to advise on tobaccos which are not too heavily cased, not too goopy, but still enjoyable, but which will be tolerable for my family. So people gave me a bunch of thank you, Jeffrey, I appreciate that, a bunch of suggestions. So I put in an order today with GQ tobaccos, which I hopefully will get tomorrow, which is very cool. I really do like getting stuff when I'm on holiday. Makes it special. Mike sent me a sample of McClelland's tobacco, which arrived the other day, which I was really grateful for. Oh, the neighbour's going out again. And yeah, so I've got a bunch of aromatics coming in, hopefully tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. So we'll be probably do some impression videos of those. Tim, how you doing? RB plug. Which one is that? That's not Rebor, is it? To be honest, I think that's the same here, Josh. I think I'm not supposed to really smoke in the car with other people in the car, to be honest. So I may well be breaking the law. Shock horror. Tim, is RB plug one of those which they've renamed, abbreviated because of the rules? Vaughan the Shire. Right, that's my cigar done. I'll tell you which ones I ordered if you hang on just a wee second. Okay, so what I ordered was a pouch of Special Virginia by Benson and Hedges, which I have had before, which I made quite a fuss about a while back when I first got it. 25 grams of American Cherry, 25 grams of Garth Hogarth New Prince, which apparently is an underrated and undersmoked tobacco, but very nice. 25 grams of Cube Silver. That's what I've ordered so far. A lot of the suggestions that I got were for American blends, which I can't get here, so I was a bit limited into what I could get. So it's just the American Cherry by Garth Hogarth, New Prince, and Cube Silver, and the Special Virginia. Somebody else mentioned Spirit of Scotland recently. Who was that? Was it you? Did you put a comment on my post? Yeah, because somebody. Did you put a comment on on one of my videos or a post, Mr. Tweed? Because I'm pretty sure that whoever it was did mention a town in Wales. Oh, it was you. Right, cool, thank you. Right, thank you very much. So RB plug. Just do a quick search on that. There we are. A dark fire Tanzania leaf which is topped with a very floral woody essence, an English aromatic. Not sure I like the sound of that floral bit, but it's not necessarily Lakeland. Is it a Lakeland, Tim? Being Samuel Garwith, there's a fair chance. Not in the granny pants kind of way. That's good news. Just having a quick flick through the reviews. It seems to be quite a unique tobacco. It seems to stand on its own a little bit. People seem to describe it as it has a casing which is very reminiscent of incense. Hmm. Hmm. I'll have to try that. Maybe I'll get a little bit of it. The Garth Hogarth plugs and curlies and things like that that I've tried so far haven't really spoken to me very much. It sounds like you like it a lot, Josh. Yeah, maybe I'll look up GQ. I think that I can get a 10-gram sample as well, but I'm not sure if it's worth just getting 10 grams. Hi Kenjiro. Savinelli Armonia. There is one particular Savinelli blend which I've heard of. I don't remember the name of. Maybe it's this one, which people speak very highly of. I think it was the Pipe Nook. I think it was Eddie at the Pipe Nook mentioned it once. I think I have tried Fire Dance once, but in the days long before I was getting on with Virginias. So I don't know, it's been a while. Has it got anything added to it? Or is it just Virginia? Brandy. Oh, and blackberry. Okay. All right. Well, I think I'm going to call it a day. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining. Thanks, Meeks, Josh, Ken, Tim, Mr. Tweed, Jeffrey, Jeff, Scottish Gaucho, Chad, Alvin, Monclaude, and Mike, if he's still hovering in the background. Thank you all for joining. And hopefully I will see you again. Perhaps I'll do another live on Saturday night to do the regular slot. And we'll see how we go. Tomorrow we're going to hope the weather improves and we'll head to the beach. And we'll see how we go. Thanks everybody. Have a great evening and I will catch you on the next one. Cheers, Mike. Thanks very much.